Okay, so what we're going to do for today is we are going to do a little practice with some value. And again, I just want to do this to get a little dexterity out there, and we're going to talk about just making some tonal values. Now, if you have drawing pencils at home, you can use those, but if you don't, you definitely don't need to use one because we can get all the values we're going to practice today using a regular pencil. Now, I'm going to use this shiny pencil, but this is just a regular HB pencil. It is the same as a number 2 HB, which is like a yellow pencil. However, and you can actually see it does say HB. It's kind of worn off on there, but it's there. But if you are going to use drawing pencils, use a B. And again, this is a 5B. It's a very dark pencil. And an H. That's a 2H. It's kind of light. It's not the lightest, but that'll work. Okay. And again, you can use any H, B, or HB. Okay, which an HB is just a regular pencil. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to draw some triangles. And for this, I am drawing kind of dark, way darker than I would prefer you to draw. When we go to draw, the lighter we do, the better. So again, it's much easier for me to draw a light line if I hold my pencil in the correct spot. And that'll help later so we don't end up having to erase. Okay. And again, and you can see how the difference between where I held my pencils. And for this assignment, again, this is just meant to be a activity to get us using our dexterity. 3 triangles is fine. You can do more than 3. But if you do more than 3, just know that you will have more values. Okay, but for right now, I'm going to stop at 3 just so I can kind of keep this short tutorial. But you're more than welcome to do more. So here I just made a quick value scale. And I just went from dark to light. And basically it's broken into 8 sections. I usually work, or we could call it 9 if we consider the last one where it's solid white. So basically when I break these down, I'm looking at my lightest value, my mid-range value, and my dark value. Okay, so we have a 1, a 2, and a 3. So then what I'm going to do is come back here, and I want you to think of it almost like you would this ruler. So if I had 2 of these rulers, as I layer them up, they would be darker. If I had 3 of these rulers, they would become even darker, or like like a piece of wax paper or a piece of tracing paper or something. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, if I have my drawing pencils, and I know some of you have them, if you have your drawing pencils at home, you would use an H, and the H would go here. Now, I won't use my drawing pencil, just like if you don't have it at home. This is just a regular pencil, and I'm going to hold it way up here. I'm going to attempt to add value as lightly as possible. Now, again, you can go any direction, and for the sake of the video, I will not rotate my paper, but if this were me normally, I would have rotated this paper already and worked in a specific direction because I'm really particular about the direction that I shade. And again, we're just trying to get a light value. It doesn't take much because we're going to smudge them some. Now, there are people who are against smudging. I'm not one of those people. I'm all about it. So when we have our values, this is called a blending stump. Okay. But if you don't have something to blend with like that, it is unnecessary. So all you really need to do is, I like to create a deckled edge, which is this. If you can see that edge on there, it's a soft edge. Here, you can probably see it against my hand better. Okay. And that soft edge, look at the fibers coming out, the camera picking up. That's awesome. And that edge, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this up, or you could roll it up, so it has a point. And I'm going to take that, And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to blend lightly with that deckled edge. Now, could you use your finger? Sure, you could use your finger if you want. But the reason I like to use the paper is because it gives me a better point, and I can kind of see where I'm working more like the point of a pencil. And I'm able to get in there nicely. We can always come in and erase later and get my light tone. Now it's a little darker than I think I would prefer. It's a little lighter than my tone 1, but that's okay for now. All right, let's do the next one. Here we have a buildup of 2 triangles. So again, we're going to shoot for right in here. Again, if you actually, I didn't even think about it. I just did it automatically. So you'll notice I used the pencil here earlier. I immediately grabbed it more in the middle. So if I'm grabbing it in the more in the middle, I'm going to have a little more pressure control, but I'm still going to be able to get a little bit lighter than I think I need to. Now what I'm going to do for this layer is I'm actually going to do one light value. And you'll notice when I do my values, I do not scribble back and forth. Okay, I go from one direction and I am making one stroke in, or from here I'm going up. But I'm not actually going back and forth. And the reason you don't want to do that is if you're going back and forth, you're going to hit a spot where you almost have that zigzag, and it's going to look darker because you're actually going over it twice. Now, the way I'm going to do this is if I think it needs to be darker, which I do, I'm actually going to do a little bit of cross-hatching using this because I want it to be done in layers. So again, that would be like my first triangle, but we have a second triangle here. So I'm going to go this direction now, which is against the grain, and kind of create like a cross-hatching effect. Ooh, yeah, that's perfect. I don't know if that's picking it up on the camera, but I am content with that. Now, we again are going to use a little bit of a smudging technique. And if we smudge it and it gets too dark, well, too dark is probably okay right now. We can always get darker, but we don't want to, we want to try to build our values again. So again, you can use a blending stump or a little piece of paper. And you can see my blending stump already has value on it. And it's a little messier than my first one. That's okay. It's just practice. But we do want to practice staying inside the lines. We do want to try to practice getting our values right. And that looks pretty good. All right, let's go to the third one. So here we have 1, 2, and here we have a third triangle. So that's going to give us our third value. So again, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to work using my same technique. Oh, and I didn't even think about it again, but look where I held the pencil. So I'm not here, I'm not here, I'm way down here. This allows me to have a lot more control over how hard I'm pushing. Now, I'm not pushing very hard because I'm still going to do the technique where I am going to overlap and almost like, well, it is cross-hatching. It's cross-hatching. Again, I'm not scribbling. I'm going from one direction out and back like that. And you'll notice I like to work away from a line. So if I'm trying to make this a nice line, I start at the line and work away from it. And again, it might look like I'm scribbling on the camera because it picks it up weird, but I'm only going one direction. I'm making a mark one direction. Okay, this time I'm going to go this way. Again, doing like a cross hatching, and then I'm going to go straight up and down for that third coat. Because again, when we're working with something like values, we want to build our values up, not do it with one swoop. And I think it could be darker. So, ooh, yeah, look how much darker it got with just that extra line. And I'm going to rotate the paper here because I want to work this direction. And rotating the paper is absolutely fine, if not encouraged. I think it's much easier, and it's also because I work a lot with like X-Acto knives and things, so I like to work in a downward motion. I think it's a lot more control working vertically. And you can see where that became a nice dark value. Okay. Now, again, we can blend that out. And make it look real solid. Again, I am still working just like the pencil. I'm not going, you don't want to go back and forth. You want to go in one direction. And again, if you make a error like I just did there, that shouldn't really matter because it's going to end up having value to begin with. Now you're going to continue working in this method, and you should end up with something that looks more like this as you go. Okay. Now, again, you are more than welcome to make mistakes and errors here, but this is practice. So all you need is a regular pencil. Do it in your sketchbook, preferably, so I can check it. And then just remember, so here we have only 2. So we're going to try to hit the same value as close as we can. And then again, here we only have 1. So we're trying to hit that value. Okay. And keep in mind, see how dark this line is? I would actually come through and erase this. Even with it erased, I'll be able to see it because this is going to be some of my lightest value out here. And I don't want a black outline. I can't stand outlines on things when we're doing value. Okay. So try to make it nice and light. It should be defined by its value. So here, take a look at this one again. So again, we're defining this space by its value, not a black line around it. Okay. All right, give that a try, and that should be a good virtual day assignment for you, just to get our dexterity going. Again, the goal is to improve our ability with our hand. So even if you're making mistakes, that's fine as long as you're growing and learning from it.